I really dislike StreamYard. You know why? Because it makes it sound so robot-y, like when you first come on or add someone. That drives me insane.
I don't know why it does that, but yeah,
Oh, it drives me insane.
it's free. So,
Actually, it's not. I guess I didn't mention that part.
oh, well,
Sorry.
I'm not surprised. I'll just say that.
Maybe that's how I'll start doing it from now on. Anytime I buy something, I'll just tell you while we're live.
Yeah, just wait. Yeah, don't tell me at first. I'm really shocked that we're paying for something else. Another bill. Who would have thought?
Shh, don't tell me.
I'm not.
Hi,
I'm not.
Nanya Biz. Hey, Clancy. Hey, the one and only Puss in Boots. Brandon's been on a roll the past couple days. So I come in. Let's see. It was late last night. I walk in and I see a package sitting there, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's for Daniel or for me. And Brandon looks at me. He was like, no, it's from Kohl's. And I was so excited to open this package up because I knew what it was. And so I get it open and I show it to, I bring it over to Brandon and I'm like, look at this. I open it up and he looks up at me and he says, paintbrushes?
Well, she said it's for makeup. So I thought usually when she buys like makeup stuff, you open it up, but it's all these little colors and little pads. And
Hey, Jenna Moon.
she opens up these brushes like paintbrushes in a case, like a nice case. I'm like, I could have went to Lowe's and got you some Jeffree Star brand paintbrushes or
No,
something.
it was
Something
just
like
funny looking at it. Oh, the way he looked at me. He didn't know that you can get like makeup brushes, you know. He didn't know there was such thing. And I got like this great deal on these brushes from Kohl's, and it was just funny.
I've never seen someone so excited to buy some paintbrushes in my entire life. In a case, in a zip up case.
But wasn't the case real nice?
For paintbrushes, yeah. I'm impressed.
Hey, Narnie, too. Hey, Christy. Hey, Jenny. Oh, you guys would have had to have been there. It was just so funny. Like, he kept going, making these jokes, and I'm just sitting there dying. Oh, okay. I'm gonna calm down. It was a funny story. It's kind of usually what goes on here, like with us.
It was just not what I was expecting. I'm expecting this big palette of colors and all these little, the normal stuff when
Well,
she
the
buys
brushes
makeup.
were metallic, so I mean they were kind of like a pink metallic. Pretty nice.
Yeah. It's just odd. It was odd and just really I did not see that coming. No one has ever walked up to me and held out some paintbrushes and been like, look what we paid money for. Oh, that's great.
I got a great deal on it. Like I had things in my Kohl's cart, and I'm like, wait a minute, because I had this gift card from my mother-in-law, and I put these things back just so I could get this, these makeup brushes.
Sure, whatever you want to call it.
He was like, we could have gone to Kohl's and I could got you some cheaper than that.
Lowe's.
Oh, Lowe's. My bad. I'm ahead of myself.
It's right across the
Oh,
street from Kohl's, so
shut
perfect.
up.
It's perfect.
Hey, Tawanda, your main girl. Good morning. Oh, so how are you this morning, Brandon?
Pretty good. I'm feeling okay. I can't complain. It's a new year. Hopefully, we
Yeah.
can have a new experience and good things are going to come. I know everybody had a pretty difficult 2020, including us, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Richard wrote, "Isn't it amazing how women can be happy when they get building materials?"
Oh my God.
Oh.
You know how many building materials we'll have that just sit in a box somewhere and just stacked on another box and
I'm
stacked on another
terrible
box?
about that. Oh my gosh. I have junk just like still in boxes. I am a pack rat. Like, I can't lie. I'm not a hoarder. I don't think we had this discussion, didn't we? I asked you,
Yeah.
I was like, am I a hoarder? And he looked at me, he's like,
No.
no, you're just kind of like a pack rat.
No. And you got a good deal on it. That's what you always say. So I guess that's important.
It is important. You never know when you're going to need it.
I know that's right. We definitely need a miter saw because I'm always,
The garage. Okay.
yeah.
Like I might be a hoarder when it comes to the garage. Not in the house. I kind of have things kind of nice and neat, but when it comes to the garage, I'll give you that. Like there's things out there that I just cannot throw away.
It's okay. I got
Even
stuff
if
out
it's
here
been
too. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, you're standing in the garage right now, aren't you? I don't even know how you're
Yes.
able to get around, honestly.
No, there's plenty of room on the other side of the car. It's just that one side.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, little Miss STFU, keeper of stuff. That's me too. Like, gosh. I did tell Brandon though, I was like, maybe this summer we can get one of those big old bins and just start throwing stuff away that we don't need. I think I can do it. I swear I do. I think I can do it.
If you need to, but I kind of like it because it's like, I don't know, it's like a treasure hunt. Like you don't really know what's out here. Like literally, like I went over there one time and there was like a stack of Coca-Cola pop bottles
Yeah.
and a gun and a couch and some boxes, and
Yeah,
it's just it's an interesting mix.
and then you got like my grandma's what is that? Like all of her yarn material.
Sewing machine stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't been able to get rid of that, but
We
it's
got to
kind of
keep
cute
that.
sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would prefer that we keep that.
See,
It was
now who's
important to
the
her.
pack rat? Brandon's sitting there saying, no, we got to keep that.
It was important to your grandma. And
Yeah,
it's hard with memory, with stuff you remember that was important to someone. I know with my dad, like I didn't want to get rid of anything.
Yeah.
We had to throw away so much stuff, but no, we're good. We'll keep the sewing machine.
So I have a question for you.
All right.
Okay. So as a sponsor, you've sponsored many people. Have you had the ability to recover them?
No. You kind of asked me this last night, so I've been thinking about it over the past, I don't know, few hours since I've been up, and then a little bit last night.
We had a little kind of a tiff over it. I'm telling you, like we stood in the living room, and I mean, we were going at it, but we were going at it in like a Brandon and Sarah kind of way. It's funny.
The argument you had was recovered versus recovering, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me try to explain that.
Well, I don't think that you can recover. That's my thing. Like in my belief, my experience, I don't think somebody can actually recover from addiction.
I don't either. I don't either.
Good morning, gallery. This is Serenity here, Hemdahl, Amber K.
One of the most controversial topics ever. I know I always say that when we're live, but this is where I'm from in Ohio. This is probably the most controversial topic, specifically to a specific 12-step. I'll just say it, specific to Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a very controversial word in terms of what it actually means and all that. My experience with it was, I want to say I was probably 3 or 4 years sober. And when I would go to meetings, sometimes people would introduce themselves. I'm Brandon, I'm a recovered alcoholic. And there are I have been in meetings where if someone says that, they will ask them to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're afraid that could really confuse the newcomer. I've been in meetings where people went outside and fought over those words. That was a long time ago, but just the recovered ED saying that you've recovered from the disease. Now,
well, the old timers, they think a certain way. And if you kind of go against that, they have a little ego about it. And they're like, no, that's not how it is.
So my experience was, I never identified myself that way. I never thought of myself that way. And I had a friend who was from out of town. He was visiting for the summer. He lived down south somewhere, but his mom lived here. And he's my age, and we're both into music and going to meetings together. His mom is an Al-Anon, so she actually introduced me to him. And
Good morning, Dova.
I heard him say that one day. I heard him say recovered. And I asked him, I said, where you're from down south, did they say recovered? He was like, well, we don't introduce ourselves that way, but yeah, that's what it is. I said, can you show me in the book where it says recovered? ED, like not recovering, not I'm trying to recover, where it says recovered. because I said, I don't believe that exists anywhere in the book, at least that I could think of.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'll have to think about it. And he went back to wherever he was from. And just one night out of the blue, he sent me a text message. It was a picture, and it was the first page of the first book ever written.
Look, CCK's on it.
Yep, you
He
got
said
it.
it like
First
right
page.
before you.
You've got it. It says, this is the story how 100 men or women have recovered ED from alcoholism. Now, what does that actually mean? By definition of, if you believe alcoholism is a disease, when someone has a disease, let's say someone has a heart attack and they go to the hospital and they pull them through the heart attack. They're admitted to the hospital. It takes weeks. And they send them home with a diet, and they must get a lot of rest, and they must take care of themselves, must drink a lot of water, take medications. They have recovered from the heart attack. They're not in a state where the heart attack is about to kill them. Okay. Now, from time to time, that gets boring or old, and they don't want to do it anymore. They get tired of the diet. They don't really need all this rest or sleep. They feel fine, and they have another heart attack. They have relapsed. Okay. They've relapsed into another heart attack. When we look at addiction, it's specific to, I'm just going to say it's specific to Alcoholics Anonymous in the big book. There's a definition of alcoholism in there that states that if you have the mental obsession, so when I wake up, am I thinking about drinking? Am I thinking how am I going to get money? How am I going to hide it? What kind of booze am I going to get? Or drugs, whatever your thing is. If I have the mental obsession and I have the physical allergy, which means I've put alcohol in my body and I'm craving more, or my body needs it because I'm dependent on it, I'm suffering from alcoholism.
Right.
I'm about to die. I can't live with it. I can't live without it. If I stay sober, so I'm not drinking, and I've lost the physical allergy, I'm no longer dependent on it. Maybe I went to detox. Maybe I had to go to a hospital or a treatment center to do so. Then I work the 12 steps with a sponsor, or I do some work with a therapist, or I have breakthroughs in my spirituality, whatever. And I lose the obsession to drink and use drugs. I have recovered from alcoholism in terms of I'm not suffering from the disease. I don't have the physical allergy. I don't have the mental craving or the mental obsession. That does not mean I don't drink ever again. That doesn't mean I quit going to meetings. It doesn't mean I quit sponsoring people. It just means in this moment right now, I'm not suffering from alcoholism. I'm suffering from ego and pride and lies and all the stuff that's in my personality. Fear, that'll always be there. And I always have to work on things to try to become a better person or a more productive member of society, however you want to look at it.
Read Galway Girl's comment that I highlighted.
Sarah, is it possible? Say maybe some use recovered. They feel safer using in the past tense. Yeah, sure. And that's another good one. That's perfect too. I think the ultimate deal here is that we're always going to be recovering. Yeah. I mean, I feel like both are right.
See, because I feel like me in recovery that, there's times that I'll have triggers or I'll think about something. So I don't see myself as being recovered because I'm still, sort of having those thoughts or
Sure.
cravings. So I don't know. I mean, that's why people in recovery relapse, because they're not recovered. That's just how I see it.
Sure. No, I think both are right. When you have that craving or that thought, are you able to get rid of it? Are you able to say a prayer, go talk to your support group, do whatever, and the craving goes away?
Hey, Sandy. Hey, Nanny. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course, there's been many times that, hold on. My coffee went down the wrong way. Sorry.
It's all right.
It happens a lot. Anyways, there's been times that, I've had cravings or whatever the only thing I could think of to do was sit and pray about it. So that worked for me.
That's your program working.
Yeah.
Your program in that situation was to pray. Thus, I guess what I'm ultimately trying to say is if The obsession drives me to drink or use because I haven't done any work there. A lot of people that are new in recovery, that's the issue. They've physically stopped using or drinking. It's not in their life. And maybe they're around it. Maybe, their family uses whatever. It doesn't matter. Physically, it's not in their system.
Hmm.
The mental obsession is what gets people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I definitely agree with that.
It's not the physical thing. That's gone. I can't tell you how many times I've detoxed, jail, rehab, whatever. I was able to get the crap out of my system or get on medication. But my mind always took me back to that first drink, and that's a relapse. Um,
Serenity here says, I have relapsed, and I know in my local program have relapsed more than once, so we are not recovered.
yeah, I think I don't think there's a right or wrong here. I think that what they were getting at when they wrote the book in the late 1930s was they were trying to really hammer in the disease concept. That was new. You
Hmm.
got to remember the 1930s, and even today, people still think this is a matter of willpower. Like and I thought that for years. I thought I drank and used because I was a bad person. I didn't look at my family history and go, well, I mean, I did, but I didn't look at how genetically I might not have had a choice in certain situations but to drink and use because that's what I was programmed to do. That's what I was believed to do. That's what my family did. Until I worked a program and worked the 12 steps, the obsession was removed.
Oh, Serenity here is so right. Detox was the easy part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the mental part it still kills me sometimes because, I never have any cravings for like heroin or opiates. My cravings are always like Xanax. Always. It's never opiates. For whatever reason, that's been removed from me. But, that's still an addiction.
Sure.
And, you know,
No, it's
um,
common. I know people with 30 years that have cravings. I know guys with 40 years that won't
I
eat
love
at
a
a place
treat.
that serves alcohol.
Hmm.
If they serve alcohol, they won't eat there. They feel like it's wrong of them to do. A nice restaurant, whatever, they won't eat there. I mean, if their child's getting married, they'll go to within reason. But the reality is, I think this thing's forever. I don't think it goes away.
No.
But I do think we can get to a place where we're not suffering from it in the sense of the chemical. The chemical is just a symptom of the disease I have. The disease I have is much bigger than drugs and alcohol because I've proven that to myself. I've found other things to get addicted to, you know, and then to the grace of God, a sponsor of the 12 steps. Then we begin to work on those things.
Read Dova's comment.
I've been told if you relapse from drink, it's okay to learn from it and keep pushing through your sobriety. Okay, so that's a great question. That's one of those old school thing. It's what they call a slip.
Yeah.
You won't hear that term much in other fellowships. You'll only hear it in AA, at least where I'm from. If I went to someone in Narcotics Anonymous and was talking to them about a slip, they just don't believe in that. But yeah, that's real common for people once again, the disease concept. If your thinking hasn't changed, if you're not suffering from the physical allergy and the mental obsession, yeah, you just keep pushing through. I won't argue with that with people. I think it's up to the individual and their sponsor. For me, I don't know what I would do. I can't imagine what I would do. But yeah, I have buddies that had a slip and they kept their sobriety date. I'm not against that. If that's what's important to them, and that's I, I I feel like for me, time in recovery is kind of an illusion because I can show you a whole bunch of people that had 20, 15, 10, 20 years, and it went away in an instant. And usually because they had stopped working their program. Sometimes a tragic thing happened. They lost a child, they lost a spouse, they lost whatever, and they were put in a position to where I think alcohol and drugs are always on the table for us. It's not like, oh, it's just not an option anymore. It's just not part of my thought process anymore. I've had very difficult times in recovery like anyone else, and I've been blessed with staying sober, but I didn't I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to use. It did not come up in my thought process. I know plenty of people that have, something really bad happened in their life, and they drink.
Christy,
Or they have,
they told me that when I was in rehab also.
yeah,
They
that's a tough one. Yeah, that's kind of that is a treatment center thing. It's not a I, the rate of relapse is really high. Most people do relapse. Not everybody. I got a few buddies that have not, but it's rare. Most people go to treatment a bunch of times. Most people are in and out of recovery. Um, the
oh, Dova, so do I.
I think the last time I saw a statistic, it was 9%.
Really?
Yeah, 9% don't ever drink or use again. Now, I don't know if that's based off like their first time or their 100th time. I don't know. I just remember that it was 9%. That was the number I saw. That was probably 2013 or 14.
It
Um,
took me like 5 or 6 times to get it. And
yeah, I went to treatment 5 times.
yeah,
And statistically, if you read up on how many times a heroin addict goes to rehab, the number's 5. So I'm part of that statistic.
boy, howdy, me too. Ooh.
And that's just rehab. That's not counting outpatient. That's not counting jail. Detox, mental institutions, you name it.
Yeah, recovery is not easy. Like you got to do a lot of work if you really want to stay sober. There's a lot of work that goes into that, especially mentally. That's what's hard is the mental part.
Yeah, physical's nothing.
Yeah.
Jail provides that. I mean, there's drugs and alcohol in jail, but jail rehabs ultimately offer someone an experience where drugs and alcohol are no longer in their body, and they can hopefully think clearly and make decisions to start a program of recovery. Not everybody does. There are plenty of people who every day, every year, that never go to a meeting ever again after they get out of rehab, but they stay sober. It does exist. It's just very rare. Most people find some sort of program of recovery that works for them. That stay clean. Some people it's a 12-step fellowship. Some people it's therapy. Some people it's church. Some people it's all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of what works for the individual. For me, I got out of prison May 9th of 2009. I'll never forget it. It was a Saturday. And I wasn't thinking about drinking or using. It was really incredible. I didn't notice that because I was just so afraid of getting out of prison and trying to find a job and where am I going to live and all that stuff. I didn't notice it, but the truth is that I didn't really think about it. And there was only a couple times after that where it even came up my thought process. I've been really blessed mentally and emotionally throughout this entire thing because I've seen people struggle. I watched my dad. My dad would like sit at stoplights and the bars to the right and the means to the left. He'd have to like flip a coin.
Wow.
Thank God he was able to get to the meeting. But yeah, he told me many a times, and there was a couple times he went to the bar, went in and ate dinner at the bar and just sat
That's
there.
hard.
Yeah. And just hated himself for it. But, he would tell on himself and eventually that wasn't an issue for him anymore, but he didn't know where else to go.
Christy says, my mind is always working against me. Being an addict is a mind fuck. It is.
Facts. I just feel like my mind doesn't use drugs and alcohol to try to get me to relapse. My mind uses other things. Like I don't wake up, my brain says like, how can I get some heroin today? My brain doesn't say we could drink. Every now and then, to be just 100% honest, I've got some major issues with my lower back. Every now and then, my mind's like, we got to do something. Like we can't. And then it's when it's cold, it's worse. It's a lot of arthritis, degenerative stuff. So
And he's young. He's like 35. Jeez.
yeah, but I went and got the X-rays, and that doctor looked at me and said, "Why aren't you on medication?" And I just told him the truth. Like I'm not comfortable with that right now. I had a doctor talk to me about marijuana as an option. I tried CBD. I didn't really like it. Just didn't really sit with me. But yeah, at some point I got to probably have a back surgery. I forget what it's called. I don't even remember. Put it that way. And usually I'm the type of person that remembers diagnoses and procedures, and I don't even remember what it was called.
Oh, Dova, I'm so sorry. Yeah, like we all have to hit a bottom before we can really want to get help. Like, it's hard to force somebody into rehab because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to want to do it and they're not going to stay sober.
And that's hard, going into a relationship like that, like knowing, like chances are they're not going to make it. To love an alcoholic and an addict is hell. It's painful, but for some people it works out, and for some people there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just, I think the issue is, it's just, what's it going to take? What's it going to take to get them to want to change?
Yeah, I was listening to what was going on with True Helper last night, and people kept asking questions like, well, who all have you recovered? And I'm sitting there thinking, are you serious? Like, as a sponsor does not recover a sponsee.
No, no.
Like, not at all. That's not how it works.
Yeah, it's just, once again, people don't actually know what they're talking about, probably, when they asked him that. The deal
Oh,
is that,
trust, she doesn't. You know who I'm
yeah,
talking about.
oh, okay, yeah, sure, perfect example. Yeah, the deal is that people just kind of think they know, so they just talk around it and try to make it look like they know what they're talking about. The reality is, my sponsor don't keep me sober.
Right.
He doesn't. He's a human power. Human power does not work with me. I've had the best therapists, doctors, lawyers. Well, not the best lawyers. Good God. That guy was an idiot. But I really have a great family, very supportive. And when I say supportive, like, we'll lock the door and call the cops on you. In my experience, that was supportive. The deal is that, human power just doesn't work for me. It had
And
to
that's
be
another
spiritual.
question. That's another question I wanted to ask you. As a sponsor doesn't have to give their sponsee all their information, their background, and everything
Hmm.
they've gone through. If a sponsor wants to talk about something that can relate with the sponsee, then yeah, they can talk about that and kind of help educate the sponsee on what ways to go or not to go, or what to do or what not to do, and they can give them knowledge that has been shared with them through other sponsors that
Exactly. It's my only job as a sponsor is to take someone through the 12 steps as I was shown to do it. My sponsor showed me how he does it, who was shown by his sponsor. And then I take guys that want me to sponsor them through the 12 steps. Sometimes I'm really close with them. Like, we're good friends. We go out to eat. If there's a convention or conference, maybe we'll go out of town together. I don't do that much anymore because I'm married. Um, no, I just don't. I don't do a lot of the conferences and conventions anymore. But yeah,
yeah,
and then
you
there's
guys used
guys
to do those what are they
all the
called?
time. Oh, just
The
conference
workshops.
workshops, conventions, big book workshops, speaker. Where they have a lot of, like, just speakers, one after another. Um, then there's guys I sponsor where we're just not that close. Like, I just take the 12 steps. They don't need a whole lot. Maybe they're new, maybe they're not so new. New guys, usually, someone their first year, couple years, need a lot of attention, and or they tend to call me more and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. What do I do? My answer is pretty much always the same. Did you pray about it? Well, no, I thought I'd call you. Of course, call me. And what's crazy? 9 times out of 10, when I call my sponsor, what do you think his first words are? Did you pray about it? And
Yeah.
usually, because I'm a human, I still think I can fix it. I can figure it out. I can manipulate the situation. I can fix it. I've proven my whole life that that's usually not the case in situations that I'm agitated or frustrated about or upset, whatever. It's not about me, you know. Usually I can't fix it, but I can take the actions to feel better. I can take the actions to be rid of a resentment. I can take the actions to be rid of a frustration, fear, whatever. And
Can
most of
you
the times that's trying to have a better relationship with my higher power.
can you read Christy's comment?
Yes. What does their sponsors reveal to them? I guess they have a sponsor without jobs, families, and life. That's okay. So here's how I do it. If someone's brand new, like with right out of rehab, right out of jail, prison, I what I tell them is that I tell them, like, a brief portion of my story. I grew up here. I started drinking and using when I was 11, 12 years old, and up to the age of 23, I drank and used. The drama, the dirt of my life is that I went to rehab 5 times. I've been to jail 4 times, and I've been to prison once. I lived in the streets. I lived outside in a van. I smoked crack in a $1 million home that I lived at one point. I've kind of seen it all in Dayton, Ohio, in terms of what's to offer in drugs and alcohol. And I got to a place where drugs and alcohol stopped working. They wouldn't do for me what they used to. It used to be drugs and alcohol would take away fear, make me more confident, make me want to party. That was not the case anymore. I wanted to be alone. I wanted to be miserable. And that's just how it
Mm-hmm.
went. And I got to a point where I had to steal every day to use heroin and to get alcohol and cigarettes. And because of my stealing, I ended up locked up. I ended up sober, and I ended up in front of a 12-step sponsor. And he took me through the 12 steps. So that's kind of what I reveal with them. Now, when I hear someone's 4th-step, so a person I sponsor is at their 5th step, when they get finished reading, their grudges, their sexual inventory, their fear list, I say to them usually, you can ask me whatever. This is your one chance. You can ask me whatever you want. Nothing's off limits. I'll tell you anything you want to know about me. Anything. And
Have a good day,
usually,
CCK.
usually it's, man, how did you stay sober this long? Usually guys don't ask me on some deep level of, something happened in my life. They just ask me simple stuff. I have had conversations with guys I sponsor about stuff from childhood that's uncomfortable to talk about or feels weird or whatever. And I hope it helped them. Some of them stayed sober, so I'm guessing it did. I don't know. I think God uses people, in the right way. I think God uses people to communicate that we're all together and we're doing this together, man, and we're going to make it. And I think that's important. But in terms of like keeping somebody sober, it's just contrary to what the literature teaches and what I was taught as a sponsee. The message in meetings is that, no human power can keep us sober. So there better be a God. There better be a higher power in your life, or you're going to continue to seek, human aid.
Yeah,
That
and
just
that's
doesn't
an
work.
ego. It's an ego thing. If you can go to somebody and say, well, I got my sponsee sober and I got them recovered.
Pretty
I mean,
much.
that's an
Pretty
ego
much.
thing because you can't keep
Pretty
somebody
much.
sober. Come on.
Yeah, I've seen a guy. I forget how long I was sober. There was a guy I knew from the streets, and we got sober around the same time. He's still sober. He's doing well. And I think we both had like a couple years, and we were hanging out, talking about the streets, and then we started talking about recovery. And he said, "Man, I got 25 sponsees." And when he said it, I was like, "Okay, but I don't understand." Like he wanted so bad to tell me that he was sponsoring all these people, and I realized after that conversation, I realized like, oh, like he thinks because he's just collecting all these names in a box, he just has all these people calling him every day that he's more sober than someone else. Now, I'm sure he got over that. I'm sure he got to a place where, he understands it's not about how many people you sponsor. It's about the quality of sponsorship, quantity versus quality.
Thank you,
But
frustrated lurker.
I also know a lot of people that just are constantly around newcomers no matter what. That works for them to constantly be reminded that the disease is out there and real and waiting for them. And they might not even sponsor those guys, but they're constantly picking new people up. And usually those are people that are pretty happy.
And
There
that's a
is a
blessing.
value.
I can't
Yeah.
multitask. So, ooh.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. I hope that made sense.
Oh, it made sense to me. Hopefully it made sense. Christy, she's new in recovery, and she said my clinic does go through the steps like everyone talks about. Ours is different though.
Sure. Yeah, it's different everywhere. And then that's important. I think it's important to just do whatever is in front of you. Like if I ever say something to someone that's contradictory, do what your sponsor says. Do it. Don't listen to me. Do what your counselor, because they know you better. I'm just telling you my experience and what I did and what's worked for me and like guys I sponsor. There is stuff that my sponsor does that I don't do with my sponsees.
Mm-hmm.
Little things, just little stuff. Maybe it's meeting etiquette or a certain type of prayer. It's just where we're different. We don't have the same views on that. And he doesn't care. He'll joke, he'll make fun of me for it. We'll joke about it, but it's just one of those things. And like I got a cousin that's sober, and the way we sponsor people is a little different. My dad's sponsor is a good friend of mine. They take like about 9 months to work the 12 steps. I don't take that long. I do it really fast, and he's really against that. It's just one of those things. We're different in that way, and that's the beauty of the world, just us being different people and giving people different options of what works for them. I think that's the beauty of it too. If you're doing it at a clinic, maybe you have an addictionologist who's your therapist, and they're kind of taking you through some step work, or at least trying to get you thinking about it.
And see, that's where we got lucky, because, you had a colleague that was actually a friend, and he was an addictionologist.
Yep.
And you and him was able to talk, and you learned so much from him. Oh my gosh, I miss him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about the good doctor?
Yeah.
And he wasn't even an addict.
Right. But he was so knowledgeable.
He understood us.
Yeah.
And that's rare. Like I've met some addiction docs that are good, but they kind of shake their head. They're like, they don't get it. This guy understood us, man.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. We were talking one day, and, I don't remember what the topic was, but Brandon, you was like, yeah, he tried every single drug just to see what it was like to know what his patients were going through. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, wow. Because
How
this
brave.
guy, if you guys knew this guy, he was such an amazing doctor. And it just boggles my mind how he passed away from complications to COVID.
He was the most sought after addiction doctor in Ohio.
Yeah.
And Ohio is a recovery state, man. It's where AA started, and a lot of people send their kids and their families here. He was literally the most sought after addictionologist in the state of Ohio for a few years.
He was my doctor and helped me get sober. And
he was
God
young.
love him, man. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in his 40s and just amazing. And unfortunately, a few months ago we lost him, but we keep him alive. And it doesn't even feel real. I feel like he's just going to text me out of the blue one day, but it is what it is. And I miss him. We keep him alive in our memories in our old store. We're keeping him alive right now.
His birthday was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he would have been 50 or 51. Yeah.
I don't think he'd have been that.
No,
I thought he was 46 or 47.
You're right. You're right. Okay. You're right. Sorry. My memory's not the best, but.
Honesty is the number one thing to keep us sober. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. There's been times I've had to tell on myself to Brandon, because if I want to if I'm thinking about using, I've got to tell on it. And I'll go to Brandon and I'll say something, and he gets me. So it's not like he gets mad. He absolutely understands. So that's kind of cool. And I still do kind of sometimes have those thoughts well, man, things are so hard right now. If I could just take something, it'll stop. And then I've got Brandon there to, remind me of the consequences.
And we're blessed in that. Not everybody has that, in their house. I know people that got sober in a crack house, where people were selling and using dope. I mean, we're real blessed in that. We're real lucky, whatever you want to call it. And just being honest with each other is key. I typically try to do a good job of that. Ultimately, it's, being honest with myself. I think that's the hardest part. I can be totally honest with a stranger, but am I honest with myself, about this or that? And I think that's something that comes with growth, though. It comes with time, and just try to get better at it every day or every year, however you want to look at it. But honesty is the key to a lot of this, and sometimes we're beat up bad enough to where we're willing to be honest. I think when people are new in recovery, that's typically the case. You just get your, drugs and alcohol beat the shit out of you. And excuse my language, but it's true.
Fine.
To the point to where, you're willing to do something different. When you see somebody come in that's real beat up, I've seen some women come in the program that I'll break into tears looking at them, because I don't know what they went through to get to that friggin' meeting. To
but
make
you can
it
see
that
the
chair,
pain in
you
them.
can. They wear it like a tattoo on their face, and when you see them 2 years clean, got their kids back, 5 years clean. They're married. It's better than any combination of drugs I've ever done.
Oh yeah.
Way better. I've seen people that lived in cardboard boxes by houses.
Yeah.
So it's a miracle. We're blessed to be here, truly.
Lisa 54 says every day is a struggle to me, even after 15 years. Hard days here recently.
Yeah.
I can relate to that for sure.
I think everybody's had just a rough year emotionally. Just that you can't even turn on the news without getting upset, anymore. And no, I like I said, I know plenty of people with a lot of years, 15, 20, that this is a rough year for them.
And
Very
that's why
difficult.
I say that we are not recovered,
Sure.
because, in my opinion, we still struggle, it's not like we're going to be recovered and we're just going to be over it. People relapse, people overdose and die because they relapsed after not having drugs for so long. So I don't think we're recovered.
Sure. No, I think both are right. I think the way you're saying it's right. And I think the disease model, this idea that once the drugs are out of your system and you don't have the obsession, to be recovered in that moment, not forever, just recovered in the moment. I think that works too, depending on the person's perspective.
It's just foreign to me.
No, I get it. I think, like I said, I think both are right. I don't think there's a wrong there. Now, if someone said to me, I'm recovered, I don't have to go to meetings anymore, I don't have to pray anymore. Let me tell you this.
Okay, so I understand that, and I know what you're about to say.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I can't. Okay. I had a boss years ago. She knew me really well. I had actually been a client at this facility that she ran. She was the literal director. And I ended up working there, and she's my boss. And I finally got around to really talking to her because she knew a lot about me because we're from the same hometown. And I just finally asked her, I'm like, do you go to meetings anymore? And she's like, no, I'm recovered. She said she had some breakthroughs in therapy, and she said she's even able to drink wine. And when she got fired from that job a year later, I kind of wondered.
Oh,
yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, well, it was so shocking, that this director of an alcohol and drug program is drinking wine every night. And, people would call her in emergencies. Someone got hurt. There were protocols at this facility where you had to call this person occasionally. And they wouldn't answer their phone after a certain time, and that got them in trouble. Were they inebriated? I don't know. Maybe they were just taking a nap. I don't know. But it kind of made me wonder, because once again, the ego can tell us crazy stuff.
Is that the same workplace that you worked at where the guy, he was a co-worker of yours, and one night he got drunk and ended up doing like spin outs in someone's yard because he
drunk? Different boss though. Same company. Yeah,
okay.
My other boss got drunk too. That's a
and I'm not
story.
laughing because I think it's funny. It's just the story.
The story itself's hysterical. I'll tell it one day. He's sober. He's doing great. But yeah, this was a guy who probably the best therapist I ever had in my life. Yeah. He's hands down. This guy was a amazing therapist, but he quit going to meetings, and he didn't have a sponsor.
That's another reason I think you don't recover. You're not recovered because even some of the best can, have a relapse.
But look at it from this point of view. He wasn't working a program anymore, so he's not even in recovery. He's not even in recovery. I mean, he could say he is. You could say anybody can say they are, but he was no longer working a program. He had stopped going to meetings. He had stopped sponsoring people. He did not have a sponsor.
That's the ego. That's why people need to get rid of the ego.
Yes. One of the sometimes scariest, hard things to do is get rid of those voices in your head that judge everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was raised to believe in recovery that the ego is the voice in my head that says I'm better than or less than. When I look at somebody on the street or I'm meeting somebody new, and my brain says I'm better than them or less than them. Maybe it's what car they're driving. Maybe I see their big house. I think that's the ego.
Yeah.
The voice of spirituality that says, I love you, brother. I don't care. I don't care where you came from. I don't care how much money you got. I love you because we're doing this thing together. So,
Yeah, Cece says if you have an ego about being a sponsor, you have a problem.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
they're out there. There's plenty of them.
Oh
There are
Lord.
plenty of them.
That's why some sponsors get fired. You know, that's a
Yeah,
possibility. You
all
can
the time,
fire your sponsor and find
all
another
the
one.
time, all
Yeah.
the time. And that's hey, everybody's got their own walk.
Amen, Sonia.
I've met some guys that sponsor a lot of people that are some real jerks, and I do not want what they have. I'm not interested, but something's working for them, so
There's
whatever it
people
takes.
in there's people in recovery that you and I both know that I just can't be around because of their egos. And I'm sitting
Yeah,
there thinking, boy, that's going to get you in trouble one day. And
yeah.
here I am, 5, 6 years, and they've got 15, 20. So I can see why there's like an ego maybe. But
Hmm. Well, we forget. We forget where we come from.
hey, Clary.
We forget that. It's like you go into a meeting. There's 20 people there.
Yeah. And
No,
after so long, you do forget. You forget what that pain feels like.
yeah.
I get it.
Well, you walk into a meeting. There's 20 people there. It's hard to imagine that. No matter if everybody's got 30 years or 3 days, it doesn't matter. Every single person in that room at one point hit a bottom that they were drunk and high and stinking and stealing from their family and hurting their kids and their wife and lying to everybody. Every person in that room, doesn't matter how long they're sober, at one point in their life, they were a thieving, drunken jerk.
Yeah.
So to just be sitting there sober, it means a lot. I think there's more to recovery than just abstaining from alcohol or drugs. I think that's just the beginning. The real
Yes.
journey in recovery is trying to, find a spiritual program that works for us and trying to build on that. My ultimate goal in life is to get closer to my higher power and gain better understanding of what I'm
Thank you,
supposed to
Sonia.
do,
Thanks
my
for
purpose. And
staying. Yeah. I seen a comment last night which cracked me up. This girl, she was like, I didn't think cops or anyone like that could be an addict or a recovering addict. Are you kidding me? There are so many people that are productive members of society that are in recovery. I've seen judges. Brandon's seen
yeah,
judges. He's sponsored judges. Like, it doesn't discriminate. Like, just because you're a cop doesn't mean you can't be in recovery, or just because you're a judge or a lawyer or whatever. It doesn't discriminate. It can get anyone. It doesn't matter what kind of job title you have.
yeah, yeah. Drugs and alcohol doesn't care what your job is. Addiction doesn't care how old you are, who you pray to, where you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
It only cares about how it can get in you, within you, and kill you. That's the
Yeah.
goal of addiction, is to try to kill you and to leave the biggest mess possible. Addiction ruins lives and destroys families on a daily basis. It's happening right now in some household, somewhere. Probably not far from where I'm standing. It happens all
Yeah.
the time. But, hopefully that person, that family can find help and they can find a program of recovery that works to where the whole family can recover. That's kind of the difficult part. Sometimes just the addict gets clean and sober and the family doesn't know how to handle that, you know? Um,
And the beauty of recovery and treatment centers is the fact that treatment centers will hire you if you stay clean and sober. Like if you was a patient there, they
oh
will
yeah.
hire you. And Brandon, he's one of those people that happened to. He went to school and they hired him,
Yeah.
which
I,
is really cool.
I said, I went to me and Sarah's friend, he was running the place. And I said, would you guys hire someone like me? And he said, someone like you? Well, yeah. I said, well, I got felonies. And he said, it's a freaking requirement to work here. He said, everyone that works here has felonies.
Yeah.
It's one of those amazing things that I never would have dreamed. I had always had a goal of being a counselor when I was in and out of rehab, but I never thought it was really possible. I thought that was for people that with master's degrees and, people that have, I don't know. I just didn't think it was available to me. And I'm so glad I was wrong.
Oh yeah.
I was very wrong about that. And I could show you people who did hard time for the types of crimes that you can guess, the big
And
ones.
they turned out being some of the biggest and
Counselors and
best
therapists in the world. Yeah.
counselors. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I had a couple of good counselors, just saying.
I had a counselor. Oh, well, he's okay. I had a counselor who got out of
Thank you,
prison by
Claire.
accident.
I love
He
you to
was
death.
doing 25 years to life and got out on a computer error after 15 years and is a therapist to this day. Yeah, that's a tough one, especially early recovery. I wasn't allowed in my mom's house for, I don't know, first year, you
Yeah.
know. But I mean, I ended up there. It worked out, but and rightfully so, man.
I still have problems with that. Like me and my father, like, he would give me money. He loved me. He'd pick me up and take me everywhere I needed to go, buy me food when I was using drugs. And now that I've been sober, as long as I've been sober, he won't have a thing to do with me. And I'm like, how does that even work? And I know we've had some issues in regards to the house and everything, whatever. But put that aside, like he would rather me be using. I feel like if I were using, he would want a relationship with me.
Because you needed him,
Oh.
and he liked that. He liked it. You
Yeah.
needed him.
Okay. Yeah.
That's typically the case and what happens. My mom didn't like the fact that she had been trying to get me sober for 5 years, and a couple guys show up, and all of a sudden I'm sober. She didn't know how to take that. She
Right.
thought she had done something wrong. And it took her a little while to realize that it was just it was the right time. It
Oh,
wasn't
Miss
about
Homer,
anything she did.
absolutely. Oh, control was huge for him, still is. Oh,
Yeah.
my Lord. I'm so glad I'm away from that. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's right there. That explains that relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it sucks. It's unfortunate, but yeah, there's tons of those families like that out there. The family doesn't know how to handle it. The family is so used to taking care of that person. Once that's gone, they're like, "Well, you don't need me every day anymore," you know. And they develop their own resentments and their own fears, and
Mm-hmm.
and then they just always accuse you of getting high. Well, you're not really sober. You're not
Oh,
really
I still
clean.
get that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
you got that too when your dad,
Yeah, my
he would
dad.
accuse you all the time. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, tell this story real quick, please. Tell him the story about tell everyone the story about when, your dad had to come and get you and
Oh
take you.
yeah,
Tell
yeah.
that, please. That's hysterical.
Sarah and I had moved to Xenia. My car broke down, and we were about to get a new car. Blah blah blah, and we just didn't have a car for I think it was like a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And but I happened to live in the same town I worked in, so I was like, and I this is a recovery town, man. I can get a ride to work no problem, and I could walk to work, which I really needed at that time. So I had to go take this drug test, but it's like 2 towns over. It's probably like 10, yeah, probably like, yeah, a good 10 miles from the house. So I was trying to get a ride, and my dad heard about it. He said, "Well, I'll give you a ride." He said, "Don't worry about that. I'll take you." I said, "You sure?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, no problem." We had that kind of relationship where I didn't like asking him for stuff just because we didn't get along a lot in my childhood. We were close friends, but once again, he didn't like that, I didn't need him, that kind of stuff. So he picks me up. Now I'm needing him to take me to go get a drug test to work at a treatment center. That's literally what I'm asking him to do. And I literally get in the car, and within 3 minutes, I said, "Pull over and let me out. I'm going to walk." Because when I got in the car, he said, "Look, I know you're cooking meth. I know that you're selling meth. And I also think you're using it." I'm going, what?
It's
Said,
not funny, but if you knew his dad.
yeah, he just would convince himself of stuff, and you couldn't get him off it. I'm like, "Dad, I'm asking you to take me to go get a drug test to work at a treatment center. You think I'm high enough on meth that would be a good idea?" He just didn't get it. He really believed that I was on drugs. And, of course, he ended up taking me. I told him not to stay. I'll get a ride home. He got all upset about it, which I don't blame him. But because I was pretty upset. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, yeah, I'm going to get high.
And
And then,
he felt so bad about it. The next week, he took us out to this big, nice dinner.
Yeah, he did his best to apologize and try to make it right, but it was one of those instances where, I watched him get sober. All his friends are my friends, but he convinced himself that I was getting high for some reason, and he couldn't get off it.
Well, I think it had a lot to do because, you took me in and we were kind of new, and
Could be part of it, but he had done
yeah.
that before.
Oh,
It wasn't the
okay.
first time. I mean, he's that type of person that once he convinces himself of something, that's it. No one can talk him down. And it takes a few days for him to be restored to sanity and realize, like, oh, okay, I'm wrong. He did that with all kinds of people. And my dad had a lot of issues mentally and emotionally. But yeah, that's a perfect example of the family just not knowing how to deal with, a sibling, a child, a spouse, a loved one, whatever, getting clean.
Oh,
It's pretty
mycology.
common.
I've been there. Oh, I've been there. Ooh.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Mm.
Yeah.
And see, with my addiction with that substance, oh my gosh, I'm the type that I would sit in that room back there and do it myself. Like I didn't want anybody else around me.
No, no,
And
yeah.
it's not fun anymore. And like I was sitting there even while I was doing it and I'm thinking, what am I doing? But I couldn't stop, It it was hard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Gosh, I do feel bad for people that still suffer with active addiction because it's so hard to stop. I'm so unbelievably proud of anybody that can conquer that and go into treatment and seek help. I'm so proud of Christy A. You have no idea how proud I am of Christy. She's come so far. And in my opinion, True Helper did have a lot to do with that. He called so many places and he was able to get her set up with a clinic that has helped her so she doesn't have to use. She's on the right path, and I'm so proud of her for that.
It's a miracle
It
beyond
is
a
a
miracle
miracle.
beyond a miracle. It's impossible. It never happens. It doesn't work out. We get high, we get drunk, we can't stop, and then boom, this thing occurs where True Helper or this person or that person helps us along the way, and we find a program of recovery that works for us.
Yeah, and then True Helper gets trashed because, he didn't give his full background name and all this to a certain person that he was quote unquote supposedly sponsoring. When you are a sponsor, you do not have to give all of your information to your sponsee. That's not what sponsees and sponsors are there for.
Here's my
They're there.
question: why would you? I don't
Yeah.
understand the benefit of it. I guess I'm just confused on the benefit of it.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
what would help the sponsee if they knew where I lived, or
Right.
like, I just don't think that would help. Like, let's see, I had the same sponsor for 6 years. I never even went to his house till I was probably 2 years sober, and we were
Mm-hmm.
just stopping by because he had to grab something real quick. Care where he lives. I mean, when I saw his house, it's amazing. It's like, wow, this guy's come really far, and he has his own business, and cool. But yeah, man, I had a sponsor where I never went to his house. I still don't know where he lives. Don't care. He's a good dude. He's doing his thing, but yeah, I just never, and
CC, you're right. You can't lie about stuff either, but do we really know that he actually lied? Like, just because he hasn't put forth information, is that a lie?
and especially on the internet, like, is this the place you want to be giving out information?
Right.
Not me.
Right.
I mean, I personally don't care. I'll give you my address. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, yeah, me
But
too.
I'm a
But
little different. I'm a little different in that I'm confident that
some people really want to hide their anonymity,
they
especially when it comes
should.
to being online.
Yeah, a person in recovery. I mean, yeah, hell yeah. It's just one of those
Because
things.
whatever they put out can be used against them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's
It's
insane.
a
I
different
don't
world these days, man.
see,
There's a
I'm
lot.
only saying that because I know for a fact he's not 26 or 27. And that's why I don't agree with some of the allegations that are being put forth against him, because I know it's not true. I know that this person is not that age. And I do have respect for True Helper for what he's done for some people around here. That's the only man, he's really helped a few of my friends, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful he was able to use his credentials or whatever it may be to help get somebody into a recovery program or help point out somewhere where they can go to seek help. I'm grateful for that.
And here's the deal. They weren't paid to do that. Did it for free and for fun on their own time. You know, when you see people in recovery that are just out trying to help people.
I love you, Amber K.
Whether it's online, whether it's, you know, whatever, you know, that's kind of a miracle. There's your dogs.
Yeah. You know, we just had to have a ton of poodles.
Yeah, that was not my idea, but yeah. No, they're cute.
Oh, Lord.
It's hard to not smile when you have 6 poodles. It forces you to smile a lot because they're just crazy and all over the place.
Puss in Boots says, as a social worker, I only reveal personal stuff if it is beneficial for my patient's situation.
Yep.
I don't go into full detail, but just enough to benefit my patient. Yeah.
Yep. Amen. And that's kind of the way it's supposed to be. And there's people that won't even do that. I got plenty of buddies that are social workers, counselors, therapists that won't. They will not talk about personal stuff because they had a bad experience. You know, someone showed up at their house, or you know, someone you know, said or did something was inappropriate, and because of that, they don't reveal personal information anymore.
Home mycology. They're 3 pounds. They're not vicious. My little Cujos.
Oh God, they're a gift.
They are. I love them. There's something about animals, man. I love them, and I mean, they're God's gift to me, really. I mean,
they are. They're sweet. We watched a lot of them be born, so
yeah,
it's kind of a, you know, they're like your kids. You know, we take care of them, and they take care of us sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I'm having a really bad day, they'll just like feel sorry for me, and they'll come snuggle up with me. They know.
I've watched them do it. I've watched them do that. They know. They can tell the vibe of the room.
Oh gosh, it is a lot of grooming. You have no idea. Oh, but I love them. So, and I'm learning how to give them some kind of cute haircuts. So it's working.
She's amazing. Sarah can cut my hair, their hair. It's pretty incredible.
I wish I'd went to school for that. Honestly,
you're good.
I like to cut hair. Yeah, I like it.
You're good at it.
I like to highlight hair. I like to do it all.
You still can if you want to.
Yeah, no, I'm too old now. Shoot.
28, honey.
Thanks, Brandon.
Too old. Yeah.
You just earned some brownie points there.
Good.
I think we're going to wrap this up, though, you guys. I've got a lot to do around the house today. I've got a lot to clean. Sundays are usually my cleaning days, but I wanted to go live and kind of talk about this because I just felt like Brandon and I didn't see eye to eye on it, maybe, and maybe he just sees it differently than I do. But we're still, I don't know.
It's an ongoing thing, you know. That's recovery. Will always be. But here's the joy of it.
I think we're always going to be recovering, though. Like,
sure.
You see what I mean?
Absolutely. The joy of it is we get excited to talk about this stuff. We used to get excited to talk about drug dealers and who's got the pills, and now we get excited to talk about recovery. And that's the cool part of the change that's occurred in our lives. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Happy 2021. I really appreciate you guys asking questions and just always
wanting to be here.
Wanting to be here. And thank you for taking care of my crazy wife when she's screaming at people on the internet. So
you went to school for dog grooming? How cool is that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, seriously. I had to learn through the tons of dogs we've had.
Trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error for sure. I've had them poor dogs looking so goofy before.
No, they've always looked good, I think.
No, I've got a couple of pictures from when Leia and Presley were young. I'm going to have to find them. Maybe I'll use it as my thumbnail.
Yeah, perfect.
They looked goofy. Poor little dogs. Okay, you guys, I love you guys. And again, thank you all for coming. And I appreciate every single one of you. And again, Christy, I am so unbelievably proud of you. You have no idea.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah, you guys have a great day. And maybe we'll get to do this again sometime soon. See you guys later.
Bye.